All right, Brett, let's start off with your company, first of all. Obviously, the growth has been phenomenal. You've basically been tracking all year long at 30+% growth on a quarterly basis here, and most analysts expect that to continue at least in the high 20s to low 30s for the foreseeable future. When you talk about sustaining that growth, Brett, what do you have to do that you haven't already done to sustain that?
Well, Romaine, it's great to be with you. We just have to keep executing on our strategic plan. It's really focused on our mission to bring heart, health, and humanity to food. And that's expanding our Mediterranean way in communities across the country. So our new restaurant development, it is building personal relationships with guests even as we scale. So we just launched our new loyalty program, a reimagined loyalty program. And it's running great restaurants every location, every shift. So we also recently launched a new labor scheduling and deployment model to put our team members in the right roles at the right moments in the right places to deliver those great guest experiences that's driven that exceptional traffic growth we've seen over the course of the year and especially in Q3.
The environment that we're in right now, Brett, or maybe the environment I should say we're going into 2025, is that an environment where you can envision CAVA expanding its footprint significantly?
Yeah, well, we actually gave preliminary guidance after our recent earnings of at least 17% growth, unit growth, which is a bit of an uptick from 15% compound annual unit growth rate that we committed to at our IPO. And we have visibility with our real estate pipeline and our GM, our general manager talent pipeline, to accelerate that growth rate a little bit next year and be able to bring our Mediterranean way to more people sooner.
And, you know, a lot of people call CAVA the Mediterranean Chipotle, and they mean it in the best of ways, of course. I'm curious, when you expand CAVA outlets, how are you thinking about whether it's in cities or suburbs, and how mindful are you of where Chipotle is and how far or close you want to be to a Chipotle?
Well, that's what gets us so excited, Scarlet, is that we have multiple ways to win. We see our success being very broad-based, and we commented that on our traffic comps being very broad-based, whether it was by vintage of restaurant or geographic region or the type of trade area. So whether that's Bryant Park in Manhattan or Back Bay in Boston in the urban cities, or whether it's in smaller markets like Mobile, Alabama, or our recently opened restaurant in Miriam, Kansas, when you look at the top decile of our restaurants, it's not one type of geography or trade area. It's everything from a college-adjacent site to an ex-urban small town, freestanding building with a pickup by car digital drive-through lane, or an end cap location in a suburban anchored shopping center, or an urban location that plays off the office worker as well as some urban residential. So that just speaks to the broad appeal of our Mediterranean cuisine, where we're able to meet the needs of so many different consumers.
And, you know, Mediterranean is part of your brand. How do you go about innovating on Mediterranean cuisine? How often are you introducing new items versus kind of removing or streamlining the menu?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of our operating model. It's 38 to 40 items on the serving line that leads to about 17.4 billion combinations. And we want to keep that newness and that excitement to guests without overcomplicating our operations. And I think a great example of that this year, we launched a new main protein in our steak, as well as a flavor innovation on our fan favorite pita chip. So a new garlic ranch pita chip that was really well received in October. And one of my co-founders, my partner, Ted Zeno Christos, is our chief concept officer. And he's working with our excellent culinary team to build a multi-year pipeline of that exciting innovation of culinary through our Mediterranean lens to bring to our guests each quarter and each year.
I am curious, when you start to talk about kind of all the things you want to do, kind of what CAVA is as a brand, as an identity for a lot of your customers, I do worry about costs. Ingredient costs, labor costs, all the things that go into running a restaurant. And I know this is kind of the old question that every restaurant CEO gets asked, but there's a fear that heading into next year, given some of the trends we've seen, that those costs are going to be higher. Are you preparing for that or not?
Well, we're always preparing, Romaine, for higher costs, but I think what we've been able to do successfully is over time invest in robust infrastructure, whether that's our direct source supply chain, so over 85% of our ingredients we directly source from our grower rancher partners, or our vertically integrated production. So we have 2 production facilities where we produce all of our fresh crafted dips and spreads, and we're able to deliver that to our guests with quality, consistency, and cost effectiveness. And what that's led to is we've been able to expand restaurant level margins significantly over the past few years, and at the same time reinvest in our guests, reinvest in our team members. So whether that's investing in better wages and benefits for our team or mitigating the price increases that we've had to pass along to our guests. So in 2024, we took less than 3% price. We did not take any incremental price as a result of the legislation in California, AB 1228, where all of our peers took incremental price, passing along those increased labor costs. And when you look back at the time period from 2019 to 2023, we only took in total 12% price, where CPI grew at 18%, and the Department of Labor noted that fast food grew over 30%. So we've been able to underprice inflation, pass that savings along to our guests, while at the same time expanding restaurant level margin and creating great shareholder value.
I am curious. I know the overwhelming majority of your revenue comes from the restaurants themselves, but you obviously have a line of products that can be bought in retail outlets, traditional grocery stores, if you will. Is there a move at all to try to expand the amount of revenue that you get from the retail side of it?
We're actually at 1,000 grocery outlets today across the country with our dips and spreads and some of our refrigerated dressings. We think it's a great option on the upside in the future. It's not something we're intentionally growing today. It's still a very small part of the business, but it's a really nice brand halo, and I think it speaks to our culinary credibility and where guests can interact with us and they can have their favorite CAVA dip or dressing in their refrigerator at home, serving to their friends and family, especially during this upcoming Thanksgiving week, and really creates a nice brand halo that allows us that opportunity in the years to come to grow the consumer packaged goods side of the business, in addition to the dynamic restaurant growth.
Brett, I got to ask you about value menus and discounts, which is what everyone in the industry is offering. McDonald's most recently with this new MIC value offering that replaces the old value meals. I know that you've talked about how you don't want to be discounting yourself to prosperity, but then how do you position the value proposition you do offer without a headline that essentially brings in more customers, brings in more foot traffic to say, hey, we've got you covered. We know how much everything costs, and we'd like to offer you something better.
Yeah, we think of value as a combination of factors. It's the quality of the food we serve and the ingredients we source. It's the relevance of our cuisine, that Mediterranean cuisine that's been ranked the #1 diet for 7 years running. It's the convenience in which you can access that cuisine. So whether that's our digital order ecosystem, pick up off the shelf, or one of our over 50 digital drive-through pickup lanes, or the way we deliver our Mediterranean hospitality and the experience you have when you come into our physical spaces and have that interactive walk the line experience. And at the end of the day, the bang for the buck you get, that great bowl of fresh Mediterranean food with our Mediterranean hospitality, has really been meeting the moment and resonating with the modern consumer.